To the last game of the Rugby Championship competition. Springboks taking on the Pumas in South Africa. Now these two sides, they do have a rematch next week, but it won't be a part of the Rugby Championship, in which these two sides both have one win, both hoping to get themselves the victory here and boost themselves up that little bit more. But in this preview, we will be looking through at the players selected for both of these lineups, the previous fixtures for these two sides, and then at the end a prediction for who we think will be walking away with the victory. Starting off with the home side in the Springboks. They announced their lineup a lot earlier than Argentina did, and the big talking point was the fact that they went with the 5-3 split off the bench rather than the 6-2. Quite a few changes in the starting side as well for the Boks here. I think a lot of the changes are justified. They're trying to put together the best side possible here to take out the full points available, and quite a few strong names make their way into the starting lineup. Doesn't take too long to find the first one. Number 2, Malcolm Marx. Now normally he comes off the bench as a member of the bomb squad, can have a real impact late in the game, as we did see in the last match up against New Zealand. It seemed to be when he made his way onto the field, the momentum shifted, and they're hoping that will be the case from the very first moment of this contest up until Malcolm Marx makes his way off the field. In the locking duo, a little bit of a change. Rather than Ludiacha at number 5, it is instead Marvin Ori, so another opportunity for him, as he did play in that first game of the Rugby Championship up against the Australians. The loose forward trio, Mako van Staden, Peter Steftotoy and Dwayne Vermeulen, all the same as that game up against the Wallabies. Number 9 though, this is where we see a bit of a change, a first start of the Rugby Championship for Grant Williams. He's been off the bench in the Australia game and the New Zealand game. Now gets himself the chance to start this match with de Klerk coming off the bench. Should be an entertaining combo of him and also another young player, Mani Lebok, to start at 10. They've taken Damien Valimza out. I feel it's a smart move, as Mani Lebok, he offers you the kicking tee option, and if he is able to work well with Vili Leroux like he did in that game up against the Wallabies, it's going to be a hard day for Argentina defensively. But out on the wing, Kurt Leorinsa out on one wing, Cheslin Colby out on the other. It doesn't get much better than that. It's the combination that a lot of South African supporters have been wanting to see, and they now get to see it for this final game. In the centres, just the one change as well. Jesse Kriel will be starting at number 13 with Luke Kanyuam coming off the bench. But for Argentina, it was a little bit later that they announced their side for this contest. They've gone with quite a few changes as well compared to what we did see in their last game up against Australia, which is a little bit surprising, seeing as they were able to take out the victory in that one, 34 points to 31. But the front row, Thomas Gallo, Julio Montoya, and also Francisco Gomez Cordella. So strong front row. They'll be looking to try and use that rolling maul with Julio Montoya. We did see defensively from the Pumas at times in that Wallabies game. They were cut open a little bit too easily, but I'm sure they will be certainly up for this challenge up against the Boks in this fixture. And number 4, they have gone with Lucas Paulos, which is due to the injury that they did have last week. Number 5, they've gone with the fiery Thomas Lavanini. Always entertaining to watch him play a game of rugby, and you know he's only one passionate moment away from a card, and hopefully for the Pumas' sake, he is able to keep that temper in check for this fixture. In the loose forward trio, they've gone with Pablo Matera at number 6. Number 7, it is Santiago Grondona, and then at number 8, Juan Matan Gonzalez. Now, I would have loved to see Rodrigo Bruni get himself an opportunity here. I felt he played very well in the opening game of the Rugby Championship up against the All Blacks, but for some reason hasn't really been given that much game time over the last couple weeks. Would have loved to see him get himself at least a spot off the bench in this game. Though at the 9-10 combo, there is actually a change here for Argentina, which is a little bit surprising, seeing as that combination of Gonzalo Berrano and also Santiago Herreras has been successful. Instead, it will be Lautaro Bazan Velez who gets the start at 9, and Santiago Herreras keeps his spot at number 10. In the centre combination, at number 12, it is Santiago Chocabarez, and number 13, Lucio Cinti. And then the back 3 for the Pumas, Juan Emoff at number 11, Mateo Carreras at number 14, and then at number 15, Juan Cruz Malia. So a couple changes there as well. I'm a little bit disappointed not to see Rodrigo Isgro. I felt he was one of the players in that game up against the Wallabies that was really able to make those post-contact meters, breaking the line, and I feel like that's from that sevens experience that the man has got, but he is nowhere to be seen for this week of the Rugby Championship. Looking through at the reserves for both sides, South Africa, like I mentioned, they've gone back to that 5-3 split. They've still got some very capable players coming off the bench. It will be the first time we get to see Trevor Nakanye in action throughout this Rugby Championship. So I'm excited to see what kind of impact he can have later on in a game. RG Snyman, he has been brilliant for South Africa. A lot of people thought maybe he had a crack of being able to start this fixture rather than coming off the bench. Then also they've got Quaha Smith, did have a decent game up against the ABs in the last game. For Argentina, Fukando Isa always going to bring the physicality. Bertrano there is the backup halfback just in case things go south. And then Matthias Maroni, the last man off the bench for the Pumas. But looking through at the previous fixtures, I've already mentioned about South Africa versus Australia, but the end score in that contest, 43 points to 12. Australia started that game quickly, but then it was South Africa who were able to wear them down. And in that game, a hat-trick for Kurtley Arunsa. Even if he picks up one here, he will be a very happy man. The second game for South Africa, they were defeated by the All Blacks, 35 points to 20. And South Africa, they didn't play badly at times throughout that game. I believe it was just that really clinical start that the All Blacks got that pretty much made it that the Springboks were playing catch-up throughout that entire fixture. But when the bomb squad came off the bench with Malcolm Marx, Dwayne Vermeulen, Peter Steph-Toy, all those guys were having a real impact. And the fact that all three of those names that I just listed are in the starting lineup means that there could be quite an impactful start for this one. Then for Argentina, they were defeated by the All Blacks in the first game of the Rugby Championship, 41 points to 12. Now, they were actually the opposite of Australia. They didn't start the match well, Los Pumas, but when they started finding their momentum, that is when they really started pushing them. And in that second 40 minutes, it was actually the same amount of points scored for the All Blacks and the Pumas in their second game. It was a monumental victory, 34 points to 31. They had to dig deep in that game. Anytime they scored, Australia scored straight after. But the momentum shift in that last 10 minutes or so made it extremely hard to know who was going to win. But in the end, Argentina getting themselves over the line, beating the Aussies, which now puts these two sides, like I mentioned earlier on, in the position to at least get themselves second if they get the victory in this Rugby Championship. Now we are up to that stage where we try and predict who is going to be the team that walks away with the victory here. Now for me, South Africa at home, they are a very tough side to beat there. Ellis Park is where they're playing. Argentina, they haven't got the best record playing in South Africa. I'd say the Springboks are going to be fired up after that loss to the ABs. They've gone with a few changes, which I think a lot of them are for the better. And I think that this could be a very clinical performance from the Boks just before we head into those warm-up games for the Rugby World Cup. I'd love to see Argentina really push the Springboks in this contest. But to be honest, if the Springboks use the talent that they've got in their starting side, I feel they've made the better selection when it comes to that lineup than Argentina. There's a couple changes that I'm a little bit unsure of for the Pumas. So I am going to say South Africa win this game. I believe it's going to be a high-scoring one. I think it's going to be about 41 points to 22 in favour of South Africa. Somewhere around that margin, close to the 20 points. I hope it's a lot closer, but I just feel if the Boks are able to find that form early on in the fixture, it's going to be a very tough 80 minutes for Los Pumas. But I do thank you all very much for tuning into this preview. Do let me know who you think will win this game in the comments down below and your score prediction for this exciting game. But we will be live on the channel doing the live commentary for this fixture, so be sure to check that out as well. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.